Welcome once again, guys. So I'll start the pattern drafting of these Ankara no zip joggers, and that is the waistline, and that will be where we'll be starting our drafting from. So to get our crotch point, I'll be marking 11 inches from that point, and I'll be doing that on two different positions. After marking both positions, I'll be joining with a straight line, and that line will be our crotch line, which would also be serving as our tie line. So the next thing I want to show you now is how to use this single pattern paper to draft both the front and the back piece. So I'll be marking 2 inches from the waistline downwards up until the ankle line, and this is just to show you how to use one singular pattern paper to cut both the front and the back piece. I'll be joining all those 2 inches mark points, and that line will actually be our sewing allowance, and that will be responsible for the back piece as well. So that 2 inches mark you see me marking out would be responsible for the whole vertical sewing allowance of this outfit. So I'll be making subsequent 2 inches mark on the downline as well, and I would also be joining to that straight line. So that is where the back piece will begin from, while that line would be where the front piece would begin from. So just to confirm that for you, then I'll take my hip measurement. That hip measurement will be taken all through, that is 10 inches. My hip is actually 40 divided by 4 is 10, so I'll be marking 10 from the waist down to the crotch line, and I'll be joining all points with a broken line, and that broken line you see me making there is actually the line that contains the hip from the waist to the crotch. And I'll be taking my thigh measurement. My thigh is 23, that is 11 and a half, and I'll be marking 3/4 inch. So I'll mark it 3/4 inch, and I'll be marking 2 inches upward as well, and I'll be joining that 2 inches point to that excess 3/4 point for ease. I would also go down by 1 inch on that thigh point and take my thigh measurement again, just to be sure. I'll go down by 1 inch on the other side too. Then I'll take my thigh measurement on those points like that, and I'll join to the ease point. The waistband we are to add would be 1.5 inches high, and half inch will be chopped off of this joggers pattern when we are adding the waistband to it, and that is the half inch you see me marking out there now. So if I'm to take my jogger length, I'll start from that half inch point. Now the length of the joggers is 41 inches. 1.5 is actually the waistband height, so 41 minus 1.5 will give you 39.5, and I'll be taking 39.5 inches from that half inch mark. I'll take 39.5 inches on 3 different positions from that half inch mark, and I'll join with a line, and that line would be the jogger length line. But for this tutorial, I want to make it look like a normal trouser first before I turn it into a jogger, because I want you to understand. So your normal trouser usually have 2 inches folding allowance downwards, so I'll be making all that before I will remove all that and explain how a jogger band is actually attached to the downline. So your 2 inches will be folded upwards. Before then, our thigh is 13, which is why I marked 6.5. So I went upwards by 2 because our normal trouser usually fold 2 inches upward. Now for the folding allowance, I will go down by 2 inches as well. This is how your normal trouser looks like. You fold it upwards, and it has to be the same measurement from that folding to the upper part. So after this, I will remove all this and show you what a jogger truly looks like. I'll add 3/4 inch to the crotch line, and that is for the bum bum. So if you have a bigger bum bum, you can add 1 or even 1.5. Then I will join to the already existing line, and I will straighten out that for you to see. I will only cut that when I'm cutting the back piece. I won't cut it when I'm cutting the front piece. Then I'll also straighten out that line like that, after which I'll go straight to the cutting process. On the waistline, there will be a slant, and that slant will start from the half-inch point to the initial point of the front piece. It won't affect the back piece. So the slant will go like that, and we'll only cut that slant when we are cutting the front piece. Then I will go straight to conclude the remaining cutting of the back piece. Now we've succeeded in cutting the back piece, but we've not even worked on the jogger band point on the ankle line. Before I start cutting off some parts, I'll show you what a normal trouser looks like. So for a normal trouser, you fold the folding allowance like that, and it meets that 2 inches position on the top. But for a joggers, you don't need all that. So I'll be cutting off that folding allowance. We don't actually need it. You need your exact trouser length. So for your exact trouser length, we would be adding 2.5 inches jogger band. So that 2.5 inches jogger band is that position, and I'll be showing you the 2.5 inches jogger band. So I'll mark 2.5. So on marking 2.5, I'll be joining with the broken line. That 2.5 inches I marked now would still be joined by a half-inch. So the half-inch sewing allowance would be joined from the trouser piece before it amounts to the 2.5. So I will not be cutting on the 2.5. Instead, I will be cutting on the 2 inches mark. So that half-inch would be for the sewing allowance. Now this is the jogger band we are working with. So we will fold it into 2, and it will amount to 2.5 inches. That sewing allowance would be what would join it. So I will cut off on the 2 inches mark. So after cutting off on the 2 inches mark, when I join, I will get my 2.5 inches position.